Hello, everybody. This is Steve Keller, and this is my better, cuter half, my wife, Samara. And we're actually going to talk today about what every Christian needs to know about yoga. Scary yoga. Anyways, I find, unfortunately, a lot of times in the church that if people don't understand things, they tend to freak out about it.
Yeah, I think the church has a habit of making something taboo if they don't understand it, if they didn't originate it, if it didn't originate in the church. There's a...
And by the way, you are a certified yoga instructor and a worship leader. I think my wife is one of the most deeply connected spiritual people I know. Very, very in tune to the Holy Spirit, to when things are off, when things don't have a right spirit on them. But you love yoga. Did you have to kind of deal with some preconceptions around that when you were doing yoga instructor training?
Yeah, absolutely. I think our family was kind of guarded against yoga, taught that it could kind of open you up to things spiritually, or that, the yoga postures themselves were created in order to worship other gods. And so when I got such benefit from attending yoga classes, I loved it so much that I wanted to be able to teach the classes. So going through, from starting to become a practitioner to where I was actually going through teacher training, there were some, little internal hurdles that I had to address in my own spirit. And especially taking teacher training, where you're in an environment that is, people of many faiths or no faith are also becoming teachers at the same time. So it's a different experience for most Christians to be in, I think, and I'd like to just comment on this right now. I think our desire to be safe as people, and for us that would be as Christians, can sometimes lead us to believe that only something with a Christian label on it is safe. And I'd like to shake believers loose of that false safety, because you're setting yourself up to be hurt. Anything with the Christian label is not safe. People need to understand that. Don't go into any circumstance without your discernment. And so then also you get to take your discernment with you. So you take it with you to a movie, and when you're presented with ideas, you take it with you to school. In our education system, most of the public education system is certainly not being run by Christians or people with the same mindset as believers have. So you want to teach your kids from a young age to go to school with discernment. So I see yoga basically as a neutral. It's like money. It depends on what people do with it. If it's going to be used well or used improperly. It's a neutral, much like medicine. Western medicine was a taboo in many circles, especially in many churches for years, because it was different.
Oh yeah, you can't take someone to the doctor.
Than how they had handled sickness in the past. So, you kind of have to take everything with a grain of salt. What I decided especially in my yoga teacher training classes, is if I'm in any position that I'm bowing to Christ, who is my Lord. And so he is the one I serve. And I reiterate that to myself throughout class, and any opportunity I get. It's an opportunity. And I found that taking yoga classes helped me to connect to my body, which is something that a lot of people have issues with. I think we feel like if we're disconnected from our bodies, we're going to be healthier. And that is,
wow.
So
not the truth.
It's so not the truth. Yeah,
And
talking
God,
about being connected.
well, I mean, if you think about it, we are a spirit, we have a soul, which is our mind, our will, our intellect, our emotions, and we live in a physical body.
Yeah.
And in fact, God takes up, he calls our physical body his temple, And so why people would discount the importance of the physical body when there's something super important about it, that we're ruling and reigning in a physical body in this world. Why, if you're talking about spiritual warfare and things, why do this evil often like to use our physical body or have possession of it if it wasn't important? It just
our body is what gives us a position. It's what enables us to have authority on the earth. And we are able to take kingdom authority, but only on earth while we have a body. Once we get in heaven, I don't think we have authority on earth anymore.
Yeah, it's an interesting.
It's our body that is our ticket.
Yeah.
To give us access to this earth. And our bodies also, they're made to work and to communicate with us. But I think when we go through disappointments in life, we tend to actually try to numb that pain by shutting down our body and trying to silence it. We take medicine that tells our body not to send us the signals of pain, not to address the cause of the pain. Most of the time, if you're taking painkillers, it's not actually killing the pain, it's just killing your body's ability to perceive it. And there are times for that. There are needs for that, for sure. It's just another basically symptom, I think, of life on this planet today, especially Western culture. It's, I'm going to keep on going no matter what. And that's how I show how devoted I am. That's how I show how strong I am. And that continual pushing and ignoring, silencing the signals that the body is giving you can actually set you up for a catastrophic crisis in your health. And so I think if you have a habit of silencing the body's signals that it's giving you, that it's not getting the nutrition it needs, it's not getting the rest it needs, that something isn't working right, then, not only are you ignoring a problem, you actually can compound it, because you've basically decided, no, you are going to store my pain, you're going to store the stress, and I'm not going to give you any outlet for it. And I think yoga can represent one way we give an outlet for things that we've unconsciously maybe stored and disconnected from in our bodies.
Yeah. I think it's a huge tool also to fine-tune the ability to listen to your physical body, because it has tremendous benefit in terms of telling you how well you are connected to things, to beliefs, to confessions, to are you in faith or not. And I think your physical body can play a big role in that.
Mm-hmm.
So the basic thing I would like people to understand is that, look, the devil has no creative ability, he has ability to pervert.
Yeah.
Okay, do not invent movement or yoga.
Breath.
And so yoga is just a tool. You can do what you want to. I know personally a guy who was a yogi with a very spiritual intent, who used to have blue light coming out of his fingertips, and the yoga practice he was in was a very specific spiritual practice to connect to very specific spiritual things, which you don't want to be connecting to. Let's just say that, But as a Christian, one thing you need to do is you need to express more confidence in God's ability to keep you than the devil's ability to deceive you. And so, as a holistic stress coach, working with people for a decade on the core issues that have gotten them off in life, it's very rare that people's issue is the occult stuff. Very often the issue is that they got disconnected from their value. I do actually find quite a lot of issues where people have been specifically hurt by the church. And so often Christians are so concerned about things outside the church that they sit in church and take everything in hook, line, and sinker, when there's often a lot of control and manipulation being preached from pulpits. And
just got a little darker.
And I think that's witchcraft, personally.
Well,
when
that's
people
why
control and manipulating other people.
That's going to happen to any in any organization, any structure that, any systemization or structure of people, is there's going to be some corruption because people aren't perfect yet. They're all in the process of being perfect in their journey. So if you're thinking about going to a yoga class at a yoga studio, I would say go check out a class. I don't believe you're going to get demon possessed in your class. Go into the class, take your discernment with you. And
it's like, are you the light of the world or are you not?
I definitely went through my teacher training believing more in God's ability to keep me than in the devil's ability to deceive me. And with that attitude,
you were in some classes where you're like, okay, this is a little off.
Yeah, and I just don't do that. I don't
go to that instructor. I don't
meditate on things exactly the way that the teacher wants us to meditate on it. And it wasn't like there were no one ever was, I feel like trying to influence with negative spirits or anything like that. But even maybe they're saying something, maybe getting us to, meditate on a specific idea, and that's fine. And I would just put Jesus in that. Whatever it was, I would just, in my mind, in my heart, what I would think of was something about how I'm, I trust Jesus to take care of me, or Jesus is my only Lord, or whatever it was. And, the alternative wasn't something necessarily evil. It just wasn't what I was going to be meditating on, whatever it was. Probably, most yoga leans more towards humanistic rather than demonic.
I think most yoga these days is more not very spiritual.
Yeah. I was going to say something about the spiritual elements of it. If you think about where yoga did come from, which I did study in my teacher training, it was basically people trying to figure out how life works, connecting meaning to events without God or Jesus in the picture, okay? And so they basically kind of wanted to be able to sit and meditate for long periods of time. So that's what the postures are designed for. It's to increase their ability to sit and basically overcome their flesh and the desires of the flesh and the desires of their soul by meditation, which is, just sitting, just being still. And they believe they could achieve enlightenment through that study. And so they basically were doing what a lot of Christians desire to do: silence the flesh, silence the soul, so that they could have access to the spirit. And I believe that basically they created a map, but they just don't have the keys. So they might be able to sort of get in touch with the spirit, but with their own spirit. But they knew there was more. Basically, everyone has a soul, a spirit, and a body, and they knew there was more. So they tried their best to connect to the body, to their spirit, I mean. And they just didn't have the key. They didn't have Jesus. But that doesn't mean that there's not something to meditation. The Bible tells us to meditate on the Word.
Yeah.
And I know many believers who cannot be still.
Yeah.
Their body is running the show. Their flesh is running the show. They're always trying to please people. They're always running.
They can't hear God.
They can't hear God. There's no stillness in their life. So that's one of the things that I got out of yoga. So I was able to find some stillness.
Actually, breathe. And pay attention. So, anyways.
I have lots of thoughts on this, but we'll just have to save some of them for another day.
By my wife, Samara.
Well,
unfortunately, usually tries to deliver the deep thoughts before I had my morning cup of coffee.
It's because I do more yoga.
Yeah, she's more enlightened than I am, so I don't often keep up.
No.
Anyways.
Yeah, if you take a yoga class, let us know what you think.
Have fun. Trust God. Be bold.
Yeah.
There you go.